On this episode, we'll discuss amplifying your church's creative storytelling with music. Well, hey there, and welcome to another episode of the Church Leadership Lab podcast, the show that is dedicated to inspiring leaders and empowering healthy churches. I'm Kendall Connor, and I'm joined by my co host, Jessica Moore. Hey, how are you today, Jess?
Hi, Kendall. I'm good. It's been a productive day. Got my
Love
music
it.
going, just getting it
Yeah.
done.
Oh, you're like me. If I'm going to be productive, I've got to have the music in the background. That is just like a given for me. So I'm
Yep.
I'm always like getting well, I'm a fan of all kinds of music, so there's no telling. If you walk in my office, there's no telling what kind of music I'll have going on at the time. But worship music today.
Yes. And well, I can't have lyrics because then I start typing the lyrics in whatever I'm doing. And then
Yes.
I'm halfway through an email and we've got song lyrics in there. But
Yes.
otherwise, yeah, I can listen to just about any genre.
I hear you. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, this is a great kind of a segue into our conversation today because we're going to get to talk a lot about music. We have two incredible guests joining us today, which I think, Jess, this may be the first time that we've ever had two guests joining us
Yeah.
on for an episode. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Today we have the privilege of having two folks, Jack Whitis and Mark Stuart, both who are representing one of our great partners at Ministry Brands, and that is WavMaker. I'm excited to tell you more about them, but before I do, I just want to encourage all of our listeners at home to hit that follow button. We want to make sure that you're subscribed wherever you're enjoying our show from, and we want to just make sure that you stay in the loop as we're releasing all kind of these conversations and stories and resources. That is the best way to make sure that you don't miss a thing. So, listen, Jess, I want to tell all of our listeners about these guests, but you're going to be excited about it too. I know you will. Jack Whitis is the CEO of WavMaker, and WavMaker is a Nashville-based royalty-free music service for churches and nonprofits. Previously, he has been vice president of engineering at multiple SaaS companies, and so he just comes in with a ton of knowledge.
Mhm.
He has been able to lead engineering teams, and he's built digital products. I mean, amazing. Jack is also an avid musician. He lives in the Colorado area with his wife and his two sons. I can't wait to hear more from him. But also, we have someone really special joining him today, and that is Mark Stuart. And he is best probably known to our listeners today as the lead vocalist for the Grammy award-winning recording artist Audio Adrenaline. Which is just incredible. We're so excited to talk with him today. But he's also a author. He's a speaker. He has been a consultant in the music industry, and he's a philanthropist. I'm telling you, he calls Columbia, Tennessee home. So he's right around that Nashville area, right around in Tennessee. And anytime that you catch him in his spare time, you can find him exploring the outdoors. Jess, you know that's something that we've talked about a million times on
Mhm.
this podcast. We
Oh,
love
yeah.
being
Favorite
outdoors as
things.
well.
Yep.
But he lives there in Tennessee with his wife and his two children. Just amazing. And I'm excited to jump into this conversation today because we're going to talk about using music and the power of music to amplify your church's storytelling and
Mhm.
really bring in that creativity in. And so, without further ado, I want to welcome Jess. Are you ready to jump in?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Well, hey there, Jack and Mark. Thanks so much for being on here with us today.
Thank you for having us. We're doing awesome. That was one of the best intros I've ever. Congrats on that. You made me sound and Jack sound. We sound like heroes. I love it.
Can you do all of our intros?
Well, you guys deserve every piece of it. We're super excited to have you on here today, and we read the public bios, and that's something that is always good to go through. But to go just one step more, I'd love to ask you, what's something that doesn't make that public bio that maybe all your friends and family would know about you? And Jack, maybe you want to take this one first.
Yeah, it's easy. So I'm a big fan of NBA basketball,
Nice.
specifically the Denver Nuggets. Mark can attest to this.
Yeah,
And I have been following these off-season trades with an unhealthy level of interest. So if I'm checking my phone, that's what I'm looking at.
that's what it's gonna be. Oh, I love that. That's awesome. And how about you, Mark? Is there anything extra that doesn't make that public bio?
Yeah. You know, this year is the 50-year anniversary of the movie Jaws. and it is my favorite movie
Yeah.
of all time. A lot of people don't know that. I'm a Jaws fanatic, and I have actually jumped off the Jaws bridge in Martha's Vineyard. It wasn't
Wow.
pretty, but I did make it happen. Yeah, it was very
Aren't they
good.
aren't they doing a remaster of that? Isn't that coming out again?
They
Or
are. It's coming out in August, and it's going back to the theater.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm a huge fan. I could talk about Jaws through the whole podcast. If you'd like, the music in Jaws is really amazing. That's what makes the movie.
That's so fun. We saw that in theater, and my husband and I were freaking out that they were gonna do the re-release in theater. We are absolutely going. I grew up in South Florida, and I was obsessed with sharks. Like, I scuba dived in college, and I would pray on the boat that I would
Yeah.
see sharks, which I feel like is
Uh,
not normal or usual, but, like,
Usually
the
it's
more you
not.
know
yeah,
about
right.
them,
That's
the more you
Uh,
know that they're not probably out to hurt you. Anyway, I think they're pretty great.
Well,
And
uh,
also, I am from Oklahoma, so NBA fan Jack. Just wanted to
okay.
just drop
We can
that
we
in
can
there,
talk
right?
later about this because
big year for you. I like
yeah,
I
I'm
feel
still
like
recovering.
I just can't go past this without bringing it. Talking about Jaws, I just immediately just had this flood of a memory of going on the Jaws ride when I was a kid at Universal, right?
Yes.
Oh
So
man,
good.
that's a great memory. Now that's
It was like the perfect level of scary.
there, yeah, yeah. I mean, it was amazing. Well, I love that. I want to hear a little bit about your individual journeys, Mark. I don't know if you want to go, if you want to start on this one. We'd love to hear about your journey some.
Yeah, I'm a preacher's kid, so I can get very long-winded. Just give me this when you're ready for me. Oh, Um, Grew up in the church, fell in love with music and Christian music. Um, I got a record deal right out of college and moved to Nashville. I was in a band called Audio Adrenaline for like 17, 18 years.
Amazing.
It was fantastic. Really got to see God work
Yeah.
through all that. But at the height of kind of my career, I started to lose my voice. You can hear it in my voice. I have a vocal disorder called spasmodic dysphonia. It's the same thing that RFK Jr. has.
Mm,
And it's a struggle,
yeah.
um, especially today, even as a speaker, but I get to use a microphone so I can talk pretty quiet.
Yeah.
Um, but that was the end of my music career. I thought
Mm,
I really started to focus in the country of Haiti, developed a nonprofit ministry there,
wow.
working for vulnerable children and mothers in crisis. It's called Hands and Feet Project. So, um, love for people to check that out. It's a great ministry in Haiti. I did
Yeah.
that. I'm still on the board, but I actually was the executive director, the kind of the CEO of that organization for about 10 years. And in the last few years, I've just been a speaker, inspirational, faith-based speaker in kind of the music touring
Sure.
space. I have 2 adopted kids, from Haiti. I just said goodbye to one of them, if you saw that. Um, and their name's Journey and Christella, and they're both 18, and I love being their dad. I'm so grateful,
Amazing.
for being a father. Um, a lot of people ask me, if they could pray for my voice for a miracle, but I believe the miracle happened when God redirected my path.
Wow.
Now I'm working with Jack and some great people with WavMaker, and I'm in the music business again, in the music industry, music ministry, if you will. Gathering great music to help churches and nonprofits help tell their stories.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I do in a nutshell, what I've been doing for the last 150 years.
I love, love to hear love hearing some of your journey there. And man, it just, I feel like whenever we ask those questions, we just hear just the faithfulness of God through so
Mhm.
many different seasons. And I just love hearing those details. That's incredible. Jack, would you tell us a little bit about your journey and, you got engineering and startups in there. Tell us a little bit more.
So, my journey is maybe decidedly less interesting and more linear, but I got my start professionally as an audio engineer.
Wow.
So that's what I went to school for. That was my passion. As a kid, my parents are both collegiate music instructors. Um, so anyway, I did that for a few years, primarily running live sound, but pretty quickly I transitioned into software engineering, mostly as a vehicle for building music-related apps. So
Wow.
I've probably spent the last 10-ish years or so building products and leading teams for startups. Most recently, that was in grocery e-commerce. I worked for Instacart for a minute, and now doing music licensing with WaveMaker.
Wow. Very cool. Now you bring up WaveMaker, and I want to make sure that we get a chance to highlight that for all of our listeners today who may have never heard of WaveMaker before. Could you tell us a little bit about that and kind of what sparked that creative tool, and tell us just a little bit about what y'all provide?
Sure. So, WaveMaker provides royalty-free music to churches and nonprofits for a multitude of use cases. It can be used in live services. It can be used in live streaming and social media content, marketing, advertising. Uh, I think maybe the more succinct way to describe it is there are a ton of ways that churches and nonprofits can use music. Many of which are currently underutilized. And those churches don't have access to music that's legally covered for that use case.
Mm.
So some of the listeners may be familiar with the idea of a copyright claim. If you post something to YouTube that includes music
Right.
that's copyrighted, but it's not properly licensed, you could be subject to a copyright claim. Your video could get taken down. You
Mhm.
could lose the ability to monetize it. Other legal ramifications. So what we do is we have curated a vast catalog of ultra high quality music, much of which was created right in Nashville, Tennessee, mixed by professional mix engineers, to the same quality standards that radio music is, and you are free to use it for a wide array of uses. So basically, we're just trying to equip churches and nonprofits with the same tools, the same resources that are currently only available to much larger organizations.
Man, that's a great explanation, and I feel like music is such a big part of the church world, right? And this isn't for those that are listening. This isn't so much the idea of this may not be necessarily be the songs that you sing on a Sunday. This is more about providing music for the various creative places that you would have around the church.
Mhm.
Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yep, that's exactly right. So you when you're producing videos for social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, typically you'll have music that accompanies that background music. A lot of it is
Right.
instrumental,
Mhm.
right? We have a whole catalog of music that's composed in that style that is ideal for those use cases. You can run into all kinds of trouble trying to use popular music, popular Christian music for that purpose. One, because it's not composed for that use case.
Sure. Yeah.
Another is obviously the licensing requirements for using that music can be prohibitively expensive, prohibitively complicated to find out who owns that music, who needs to be compensated, that sort of thing. So we've drastically simplified that process by providing music that's in a variety of styles, variety of moods, curated for
Right.
specific themes, that sort of thing.
I love that, and I know that WaveMaker doesn't just serve, churches and nonprofits, and it's available to everyone. But I know that our audience, obviously is being we're serving in ministry. What unique needs would you say that ministries have when it comes to the music and the media like this? And how is WaveMaker able to really make it easier?
Yeah. So, one thing that makes churches unique from our other clients is that there are specific legal provisions around how copyrighted music can be used in churches. And many churches already engage in some form of music licensing through organizations like CCLI. But what many of them don't know is, there are a ton of use cases for music in churches that aren't covered by their existing licenses.
Mhm.
And the popular music, that they perform in their services may not be the best fit for those situations.
Sure.
Um, so, I think structuring our service, in a way that complements, their existing music licensing solutions, to fill all the other gaps, to give them, 360-degree coverage for their ministry. I think that's what makes serving, churches and nonprofits unique.
Mhm. Mark, you looked like you wanted to add something to that too.
Yeah. Um, you know, my I'm a preacher's kid involved in church. There's a lot of storytelling in church.
Mm,
So, like Jack said, we've curated this music around what churches would need and storytellers of, inspirational storytellers would need, whether it's for fundraising, whether it's testimonies of
yeah,
redemption,
yeah.
whether it's this is what happened when our kids went to camp, and you can't just play a Toby Mac song in the background.
Right.
You have to have that's kind of hyped or sounds like Toby, but it's not Toby. So that's what we do. As a CEO of a nonprofit for 8 to 10 years, I was always looking for the right musical piece to tell our story
Mhm.
Yes.
or to tell the story of one of the kids that we've impacted their lives. And when you get the right music coupled with that video, it just it's like fuel to the fire of that story.
Yes.
Music is the most powerful piece of the journey of the storyteller. Hmm. It's the same thing when we were talking about Jaws. Jaws is a great movie, but when you add John Williams, dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, and you
It
know what
elevates
comes
it.
in,
Yeah, it does.
yeah, it makes it brilliant. And that's kind of our job with WaveMaker is to help, storytellers within the churches and nonprofits connect to their constituents, whether it's a donor or a church member or a kid that you're trying to inspire to go on a mission trip. You want the right musical background and without any encumbrances, and we've built that. And Jack, he's brilliant. He's got AI filters and all these things to make
Amazing.
it super easy to find the right song. And it's so cool um, to get into the website, to dig around and build your own playlists,
Yes.
put together what you might need for this and that. And it's designed for creatives because when you get on the app, it actually feels like Spotify, which is incredible too. A lot of people
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
like, this feels so intuitive. Um, so we're really proud of basically what Jack's built.
Our team, what we've built. Yeah. No,
I
I,
was
so
gonna Sorry, I was gonna comment. The website is excellent.
It's
I mean,
amazing.
I've been on there
Yeah.
a few times now since the partnership began, and it really is tremendous. Like, so searchable. I love that you've got it broken down. It's not collections, or is it collections? What are they called?
yeah, we've got categories, we've got Q
Cate
packs, we've got
Q packs, I think is what I'm
moods,
thinking of.
themes,
Yeah.
genres. Yeah, there are
Yeah.
lots of different ways to kind of slice and dice things
Yeah,
because
it's
because
great.
different people think about music differently. They search for music differently, and
Right.
we do our best to accommodate all of those. Mark, I'm going to try and watch Jaws on mute now because I want to know what that if it's going to feel like just watching like a documentary on TLC.
Probably.
Yeah.
Um,
And one other thing too that I think's great is podcasts. A lot of churches are starting to do podcasts
Yeah.
and sermon series. So you need musical interludes and kind of drama to build
Yes.
in some of the stories. And I think that's a great use case for Wavemaker as well.
For sure.
But,
You're so right
yeah.
about it, and I think because creating and storytelling it's made its way into every area of our life now. If you really think about the amount of times a day for all of our listeners, if you think about the amount of times a day that you are on your phone and you're watching a reel or you're watching that TikTok video and you're swiping on those videos, look at how often music is used in those, and really it's like we can now equip your church in their storytelling. And I think about social media videos like that, but it also goes beyond that, right? What are some examples of that storytelling element that it would really help? I love that you mentioned the podcast and the testimony videos.
Well, for me, it's like, especially from a nonprofit, but a nonprofit and churches are basically doing the same thing.
Mhm.
They're telling the stories of how they're making an impact. So I think any way that you can do a year-end impact video,
Mm,
um, if they're doing a fundraising campaign around a certain,
yes.
um, whether it's kids going to camp or a
Yes.
new ministry or a church plant, and you need that extra kind of emotional lift, the music
Yes.
provides that.
Mhm.
Also, a lot of churches now are even doing short films and more creative outlets,
Yes.
and this is even the license covers that as well. So if you're building a 30-minute film about, a story within your church, and you've got filmmakers and storytellers beyond just podcasters,
Yes.
this music can be utilized for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, to that end, I think churches and nonprofits are active on all the same platforms now that uh, you know, uh, brands and other figures in cultural, in our culture are, and the the media landscape is so demanding for the quantity of content that you have to produce to stay relevant to reach
Yes.
people, and it's honestly it can be exhausting, right? And you know, uh, we don't want finding music for your projects to become a grind because it certainly can be, right? Like
Yes.
if you're producing multiple videos a week for different platforms, that can it can honestly suck the joy out of it,
Yeah.
So we want you, um, we want finding music to be an enjoyable experience, an easy experience, and an inspiring, experience. Uh, because we know that you have a lot of other things to focus on. Like music may not be the focal point of your production. We understand that, so we try to make it easy, to get in, to find what you need, and to get out quickly.
You bring up so many good points, and I was just sitting here thinking about all of the different ways that even in my own church, right? I serve at our church, I volunteer at our church, and have been involved in it in a long time. And creative ministry has always just had, a spot in my heart, a big place in my heart because creativity, and even in music ministry as well, they can tell a story and they can grab a heart in a way that sometimes just the spoken word or even visuals can't. And
Mhm.
it's always you brought up a couple different things. Just having music behind a testimony video, having a great song that's energetic and captures the mood of showing those kids at summer camp, right, or vacation Bible school. We talk about that all the time. It makes such a big difference, and the more what I love about your service is that the more easy it is to go and to grab that and even kinda hang out and check out all the different things, you'll be inspired to use those assets more, and it just elevates all of your projects, right?
So I had this really like illuminating conversation with one of our composers, and he does work on network television and that sort of thing. And he was saying that when he does like a reality TV show, like the producers would tell him, okay, this scene needs this kind of cue. You need like a comedy cue
Yeah.
or a drama cue because until you put the music in it, you
Mm.
don't actually know
Mm.
how you're supposed to feel.
Wow.
Like whether there's whether it's dramatic music or funny music or exciting music or no music at all, like that'll inform how you're supposed to feel about it. I think that's
Yeah.
true of all video, right? So it's another tool, to shape, the emotional reaction, that you're trying to elicit.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and like the inspiration thing kind of works both ways, right? So you might come into a video production with a very specific idea of the music that you want to be paired with your video. And in that case, like the work is just like finding something that very closely conforms with that idea. But sometimes it's the reverse, where you listen to a piece of music that actually defies your expectations of what you think you're going to hear, and that dissonance actually takes you to a more creatively interesting place. So
Yeah.
it's a good way of shaking things up or getting over writer's block.
Mhm.
If you're looking at your scene and you're listening to some different music selections, it can actually give you different ideas for directions to go with it.
That's really good. No, and there's no doubt in my mind that music, it plays such a big part in the process and in the human experience, right? Like music really can move you in a way that other things can't. I was kinda thinking about different ways in my own church that outside of the videos of creating videos that we've been able to use royalty-free music like this, and it's made a big difference, and, the first thing I wanna call out is and you kinda talked about it a little bit earlier, is that streaming. So many churches are live streaming these days, and you cannot if you're sharing to platforms like Facebook and YouTube and
Mhm.
platforms like that, you'll find out super quick. You'll find out week 1, the first Sunday, that you can't just stream any music to there. It's gonna automatically come up, and so having music that is royalty free, having the license to go with that is such a big part, right?
I chiming in real quick, a thought came to mind. We watch online occasionally, and I mean, our church does like it's a decently long, maybe 3-minute intro video that just kind of paints the picture of what our church is.
Yes.
There are no words, no one is speaking. It's literally just images or
Yes.
videos. And that entire like segment, that entire intro is just royalty free music. And I didn't consider the fact that it wouldn't be able to not otherwise be. I don't know why I didn't realize that. But yeah, you're right. And it's going on so many other platforms that will catch you right away, right? So
Yeah.
even streaming on your own website, I'm sure you can't do it, but definitely not on those other ones. There are like
Yeah, you
fail
wanna make
safes that
sure
won't
that
let you.
you wanna make sure
Yeah,
you're
I mean,
protected.
music licensing is notoriously complicated and nuanced,
Yeah.
and in some cases unintuitive, right? Because you're thinking about,
Hmm.
I'm legally able to perform this,
Yes.
song during my worship service, perhaps because I have a CCLI license or something else. So I should be able to live stream that. It's not exactly right. You'll need additional license coverage,
Sure.
and so what we have done is basically wrapped up all the coverages that could conceivably be needed by a church or a nonprofit, and we've bundled those together, so that you're not constantly getting upcharged or nickel and dimed, if you decide that you need to distribute to another platform, or you need to reach more people. We've tried to simplify that process as much as possible.
Amazing. Mark, did you have something? I feel like I cut you off there earlier there.
Oh, yeah, I mean, CCLI does offer these extra licenses that are they're pretty expensive to be able to do some streaming. But then beyond that, there's like a black hole of like there's a chasm that we're trying to fill.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah,
And
like I'm.
you're right. Yes, it's a lot of bumper music. It's a lot of video music. It's coming back from the offering, or it's the music that doesn't have lyrics
Yes.
while you're taking up an offering,
Yeah.
Yes.
or you're waiting for the service to start and there's music and logos.
Yes.
Hmm.
All that we provide for sure.
Hmm.
And it's pretty inexpensive compared to what's out there in
Yeah.
terms of what uh, we're different than CCLI. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you we are. CCLI provides licenses for worship music that
Hmm.
you know.
Right.
We're
Right.
providing music for these situations. There's most 99.9% of it doesn't have any lyrics.
That's
So
right.
we can't say it's worship music. It's worshipful.
Yes.
It's music that's gonna inspire and open hearts, but it's not from Chris Tomlin,
That's
you
right.
know?
Right.
If Chris Tomlin's keyboard player that's composed something for us, but it's written and designed, for you to use in these little holes that
Yes.
CCLI doesn't provide for you.
That's.
The
I
other
mean.
thing that we
Oh, go ahead. Go
found
ahead.
is live. You could take our music and develop a playlist
Yes.
for your coffee shop, or if you need music, kind of jazzy, inspirational music, for the lobby, or if you wanted some pretty hype music for a youth group setting. If you don't want to pay it, there are licenses that CCLI will do, super expensive, or you can use WavMaker. We do overlap on a certain instance for live performance music.
Sure.
So if you wanted to get some hype music for like a kickball tournament
Yeah.
or something
Yeah.
for just a prayer time, you can certainly use our music live in those types of settings.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that's an important distinction, and um, it's probably even worth clarifying, what the term royalty free means, right? Because like in traditional music licensing, sometimes, or the majority of the time, you're getting a license, you're paying for a license for a specific use in a specific production, with a certain level of distribution or reach.
Yeah.
Um, right, and so you're like negotiating these licenses on a one-off basis, and yeah, obviously that's time consuming and it's expensive.
Hmm.
What royalty-free music means is that you pay us one time, and you don't have to pay anyone else for any subsequent performances of that
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
So you have a subscription to WaveMaker, and you can use as much music from WaveMaker as you want while you have an active subscription. So like the number one question that we're going to get is, okay, if we subscribe to WaveMaker, we post a video, and then we unsubscribe next year, are we then going to get our video taken down next year? No. We offer coverage in perpetuity. So that means that as long as you post the video while you have an active subscription, you are covered forever. And that's a level of coverage and certainty that that used to not be available.
Sure.
Um, yeah,
That's
No,
awesome.
yeah, I'm glad that you shared these details because those are definitely the questions that come up, right, when
Mhm.
using this kind of stuff. Mark, I'm glad that you actually brought up some of these different ways that churches can use music like this because it is beyond just the videos. And I got to thinking about some ways that we've actually used them in our service, and some of them you brought up. And I was thinking about that pre-service music, having a collection that you can go and pull music that feels worshipful, right, but may
Mhm.
not necessarily have lyrics in it or be a particular song, because any worship leader will tell you that they don't want to have any chance of the exact song that they're about to sing on stage be right before being played right before they come out. I feel I feel like that's like an unwritten rule, right?
That's true.
For our ministry, actually built a pre-service playlist that's made of songs that are like this, that are instrumentals that feel worshipful. But yeah, you can't exactly pinpoint. Oh yeah, that's that exact song that we're about to sing on stage. And we've used those same things in prayer services where, you want that nice instrumental track that can be behind you, but it doesn't take away from the focus of the moment. And then also we've even done things where if we hosted at our church not too long ago, kind of like a date night for couples to come to. And during the dinner, we actually played some of that music, that stock music that could just fill the room, and have a nice music playing. But again, we've used it when we need a hype moment in our kids' events or on Sunday mornings in our kids' ministry. Having that music that we can just hit play on, and we
Mhm.
know that it's been really tailored. So, yes, you have that licensing side, and you want to make sure that all of that is covered. But beyond that, I don't want to take anything away from the fact that you have a site that's just full of amazing music
Mhm.
that can be a resource for the church. That's something that I really love and appreciate.
I love that you called that out because I kind of think of that as like the two pillars of
Yeah,
our business, right? Like we solve a
yeah,
very practical problem, a pain point that a lot of people have. But there's also this artistry side, and I hope it's evident, from our background and the other folks that work at our company that we're very passionate about the music. And I will tell you this, like as a technologist by trade, right?
yeah,
The thing that makes our website come to life is the content. It's
mm,
my favorite part of my job. Actually,
yeah,
is releasing new music that we've composed around these super usable scenarios. I think we mentioned earlier that we have you know uh, music that is worshipful, even if it's
mm,
not worship. We
yeah,
have a Q pack, a collection of music called Sunday Sounds. It is exactly what you would imagine. We have another one called Youth Camp. We have another one called Redemption Stories. Right. So the time from loading the page to finding the song for your project, I think is going to be significantly lower, for a church and a nonprofit on our site than if they were using another music source.
Mm.
yeah. I love that. I'm just kind of curious. We talk about the creatives serving in their church. We talk about all the different roles, the musicians, all these different creative minds that are putting these things together, making content, doing all that. I'm just curious. Do y'all have any encouragement that you would share with them today?
Yeah, I mean, for me, a lot of times the people behind the scenes go unrecognized, like the editors, the people putting together the worship service or the videos or calling out the shots or, um, sometimes you get forgotten, but when you get a great creative person that's pouring their heart and soul into a piece of content, it's life-changing. It moves people. It's storytelling to the max, and it can't be done without you. So you're an integral part of, the church, um, the evangelical side, the administrative side, just kind of the muscle of what the church does, because the church doesn't exist without telling the story of
Mhm.
the gospel, the good
Yeah,
news.
that's
And
good.
those creatives out there, I don't understand it all. I'm not good at, like, uh, Final Cut Pro or whatever that people are using these days. but I know a good piece of art when I see it,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and, it is moving. It opens hearts,
Yes.
and, that's the first step to opening the soul is, through music and great content, so thank you
Love
for what
that.
you do. Hopefully, we can work with you, inspire you, and give you a tool that's gonna make what you do even better.
Mm.
That's our hope and our prayer.
Love that. And that's great encouragement. And Jack, I'd love to hear from you on, like if there's a pastor that's out there or a church leader and they're hearing this today and maybe they don't do anything with music or technology in this way, anything creatively, what would you say to them like to inspire them to do? Is this something that they should try to take on?
You know, I mean, in a word, yes. To whatever extent they feel you know, compelled or inspired. I mean, I think the bar to getting started is pretty low.
Mm,
You don't need to start publishing on every platform today. You don't need to be orchestrating elaborate services. There are really straightforward ways to get started.
yeah.
You could pick a single social media channel on which your audience is active. Maybe that's Facebook. Maybe that's Instagram. You could, take a tutorial or employ the help of somebody else who is familiar with those platforms to walk you through the process of making your first post and how to add music with it.
Mhm.
I would just say that, you know, anything that you do is additive, and you shouldn't berate yourself for not doing everything all at
Mm,
once. Uh, we're not all, professional social media managers. Nor am I, but we do the best that we can and whatever we can, you know, to reach and engage with our audience.
Mhm.
what I'm hearing is, you don't have to have it all figured out. Just do something. Just try something out.
Mhm.
And have fun with it, right? Because like
Yeah. Oh, that's a good
I
point.
think the joy of music is pretty universal. I
Yeah.
don't know that I've actually met anybody who's like, I don't like music.
Not a music guy.
It doesn't do
I
anything
haven't
for me.
heard that
It's
either.
not my flavor. So and this is probably true, in my own experience making art, is that like if I make something that makes me happy, it's probably going to make somebody else happy too.
Mhm.
Your
Wow.
perspective is going to resonate with somebody.
Mhm.
So yeah, I would just encourage you to get started and to enjoy it.
I love that. And, I feel like a lot of times I talk with people who are serving in their churches and they may see like just how professional some folks do it. They see amazing videos out there. They see things that are just they feel like is so far out of their grasp, so far out of their reach. I feel like just simple tools like this kind of level the playing field for smaller churches, volunteer-led teams, right? Like
Mhm.
you may not be on staff doing this at your church, or you may just have a small team, or it may be a team of one, right?
Yeah.
But when you have something like this, I feel like it can help you to give you that pro feel to your project. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and like we can relate with this deeply because we're a small company too. Well, we
Yeah,
we do a little bit of everything. And, you know, most computers these days do ship with some kind of video editing software.
right.
So you don't necessarily have to go out and buy a bunch of tools. You can use the tools that are built into your computer or built into your phone. Um, and yeah, I mean, again, building software, building startups. If I compared us every day, to the biggest companies in the world, I might be paralyzed,
Mhm.
with
Right,
inaction.
right.
But I have to frame success as like, how much better can I make our operation today?
Mhm.
Yes.
And there's always something to do, always something to chip away at.
That's a good word for today. Applicable to, I think, every single one of us that are listening. One of the big themes that we talk about on our show is that we talk about healthy churches, healthy leaders. Mark, I'd love to hear from you. And in your opinion, what would you say is one essential component of a healthy church?
Oh, it's probably a buzzword right now, but I would say transparency, authenticity, mm, just great communication, you know, from the leadership in a world that you sometimes leaders let you down or you feel like you're not getting all the information.
Mhm.
So I think authenticity in the leadership team and a healthy that kind of comes from a healthy
Mm,
relationship.
yeah.
Um, one of the things that inspires me about my church too is that it is a giving church. I love it. Churches seem to be more healthy when they're serving the most,
Mhm.
when they're giving the most. When they start focusing on bigger buildings and inwardly, building this and
Right.
that, it starts to get people are like, "What are we doing?" Questioning what's happening. But a
Sure.
really beautiful, healthy church is one that serves
Yes.
and is selfless, too, along with transparent. But that's what I love about my church.
Mhm. It's
Love
good.
that. Yeah, that's a good word for today.
So
Well, we
well, I
like
actually I got one
uh,
I want to add there too, though.
oh, yeah, I wanna hear it. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think an essential component of healthy organizations generally, but churches in particular, is when team members and creative um, are empowered with resources to do their best work.
Mm,
Mhm.
That's obviously a problem that we try to solve at WaveMaker. Making it so that you're never slowed down by the process of finding relevant content. So yeah, I think it's probably a good sort of leadership maxim, to make sure that uh, your team members, who are doing the day to day work, have all the tools at their disposal so that they can run with it,
that's good.
and that you don't have to handle them through the process.
Yeah, I mean, we second that here at Ministry Brands, right? Like we want to empower you to have more time to do what you love and what you're called to do. And that's ministry. It shouldn't be, and serving administratively is worship. All of it is worship. But to be able to connect with people and,
Yes.
contribute well with efficiency to the glory of God, having the right tools to do that is a really important piece. And I think, we're all in that industry. And I think it's one of the things that keeps me coming back to work every day, right? Is knowing
Yes.
that there's kingdom impact in me writing another email.
Yeah.
In some capacity. So that's great, Jack. I completely agree.
I think it just speaks to there's a certain freedom that just comes when you have everything that you need to get your job done, right? If
Mhm.
you've ever and I think about the creative projects that I've been involved with throughout my career, right? And having to go and not having the things that you need, you're just trying to make something from nothing. And but when you started bringing in those creative assets and things, it just makes things so much easier. And, again, to Jess's point, right? That's again something that we're passionate about at Ministry
Mhm.
Brand. So,
Mhm.
so much good stuff in this conversation. I know that we love to end with a final five rapid fire round. Would you guys be up for the challenge of that today as we end?
That sounds scary.
I'll give it a shot.
It does. It's not too scary. Jess, will you lead us
Oh,
through this?
Yeah, I'd love to. Okay, we got to figure out how we're going to go back and forth, okay? So number 1, Mark's going to answer first and then Jack and then
We'll
we'll
flip it on the
switch.
next one. Yeah,
Yes.
I like that.
So
Good plan.
self-control, fellas. Okay. All right, number 1. What is one book that you'd recommend to church leaders?
um, there's a lot out there. One book that I think that I love is called The Way of the Shepherd, um, which is it's a narrative, kind of a fictional narrative about a guy doing an interview, but uh, it basically breaks down how a shepherd um, kind of interacts with the sheep
Mhm.
and relates that to leadership. And I love that book and the tie to the Good Shepherd. So I think that's a great book for any leader in a church
Good
or
one.
nonprofit.
Good one. Jack?
This question is so incriminating for me.
I love it.
It's a
Spill it.
running gag in my house that like my wife is like a voracious reader, and I spend all day reading technical documentation
Mm,
and legal agreements. For this question and to best serve your listeners, I'm going to let Mark answer this question twice.
I love it. Okay.
Oh, oh wow.
Now you get a do over.
There's a couple MacArthur books that are out there that are great. Um, from a nonprofit standpoint, I know it's been out for a long time, but When Helping Hurts, I think, is a great
Mm.
Mm,
check for nonprofits to make sure, even for churches, that the way they're helping the poor or the franchised, that it is actually not making things worse. I
that's
think that's a
good.
great book, for leaders of churches and nonprofits that are serving the marginalized.
Great. We'll,
Okay.
we'll link those up for sure in the
Yeah.
show notes.
Okay. Next, Jack, you're going first on this one. And this should be easy for you guys. What is the last thing you listened to on Spotify or Apple Music?
Well, so you guys started this call. You were talking about productivity music,
Yes.
and this is gonna sound like a shameless plug, but you have to believe me when I tell you it's the truth. That that I listen to our catalog when I work
That's great.
because
Yeah.
it is so good for getting in the zone.
I hear you.
And
Love it.
like we have music themed around things like underwater expeditions and stuff. So like if you're trying to immerse yourself in a creative space, it's really great for that. If it was Spotify, I don't know, it'd probably be like, I don't know, like Tears for Fears or like
There you go.
something, some just like not really guilty pleasure,
Love
that
it.
is in constant rotation.
That's perfect. Mark, you've had a lot of time to think about this. I want an honest answer.
Yeah, if you want the honest answer, I was working out
Okay.
and this kid's popped up. He's a jazz musician and he writes his own stuff, but it's a throwback to like old Sinatra kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And his name is Aaron, Aron, exclamation point.
Okay.
And he plays piano and acoustic guitar and he sings. He's just really cool. So that was the last thing I listened to on Spotify.
Awesome.
This is my
Yeah.
favorite question because I love music to like an insane level. And I love hearing about new artists. And it's been a few times that we've heard about stuff and I've like
This kid is
found them.
amazing,
Okay,
like,
cool.
unbelievable, yeah.
So fun. Okay. We're back to Mark answering first. So, favorite piece of technology or software right now?
Does a fly fishing rod count?
I love that answer.
That's a good answer.
That is.
I mean, like that's like technology in the sense that
It
like
was 150 years ago.
a millstone or like the printing press.
I'm gonna say fly rod. It's a piece of technology, it's kinda archaic, but it is when I'm fly fishing, it I, I just go to my happy place,
Yeah,
so there you
But
that's fair.
now I
Jack?
want to be out
No,
fishing.
no, that's fair. I mean, like especially when you work in tech, doing things
Mm,
that with your hands or things that are manual is great for decompressing. However, probably my favorite piece of technology right now, not so much because of the technology, but because of who I use it with, is playing video games with my kids. We
mm.
started playing the new Kirby game on Switch. It's kind of a
Yeah.
a daily ritual now. So
Love that.
So
that's
cute.
that's been super fun.
Nobody said WavMaker. I'm shocked. Okay.
Well, I mean,
That's
I feel like
Wavemaker.
That's like the given, right?
I know you teed us up, but like I don't.
It's the
I
same
don't want to.
question for everybody. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. Jack first. Quote or advice that's stuck with you over the years?
Oh gosh. Um, yeah, I don't even know if this was a quote or when I absorbed this piece of information, but I think you know, at any given moment, you make the best decisions that you can with the information that you have.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I think that's super relevant in for us, as
Mhm.
as a small business because you know every 6 months, you're making decisions about the direction of the business or
Mhm.
something like that, and it's easy to give yourself a hard time for not
Mhm.
being consistent over months or years for having a singular direction, but the world is changing rapidly,
Yeah.
and you have to adapt to it. So again, I just I try to uh, um, make the best decisions I can today, and to, forgive myself for them later.
Yeah, I'm gonna take that a step further and say with the information that you have in front of you at the moment, because we live in a world where you can get paralysis, information paralysis, because if you want to know more, you can find more, and then you're more confused. So, don't recommend doing that. Mark, quote or
Well,
advice that stuck with you?
um, yeah, this one might be a little. I was contemplating on whether I should share this on, but we had a road pastor a long time ago out with us on the road, and he was a friend. He was a professor at college, and I think at one point in my ministry with audio adrenaline, I was really just, I don't know, like stuck in the burden of carrying,
Mm,
like like I was the lead singer. I might have been struggling with my voice, and I just felt like it was too heavy or too like it. The weight of it was just kind of crushing me, and honestly, he said it was pretty brutal. He goes, "You know what, Mark? Christian music's gonna go on without you."
mm,
Mm,
And, for me, at first, I was offended by this idea that,
sure.
like,
Yeah.
"What are you talking about? Of course I know that." But I think what he was trying to say is that I was quit stressing about your importance and
mhm,
just let God work through you however
Mm,
he's gonna work, and I think that kinda stuck with me, and,
yeah.
honestly, about 6 years later, Christian music did go on without me, you know, uh but more importantly, I'm okay too,
mhm,
that because God found a new path for me
mhm.
to serve, and I think that was one of the it might not be great advice for everybody, but for me, it was, like,
Yeah,
really,
No.
it just hit pretty hard, yeah.
yeah, that's
That,
great.
okay, I'm gonna throw one more in there then,
Come on.
because that's what it made me think of is, uh, um, you know, love things that are gonna love you back,
Oof.
you know? And so what I guess what Mark said made me think that might inform, uh, how you prioritize your life, you know what I
Mm,
mean? Because, uh, especially when you have a family,
Mhm,
it's easy to, you know, over prioritize work or your creative endeavors or, your, your little sphere there. But,
mhm.
the thing that's going to
wow.
persist are the relationships with my family. And so it's always good to kind of recenter on that at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Good
good.
reminder. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so Jack, well, you kind of just answered twice, so I'm going to let Mark answer this one first. Okay, one thing you'd like to communicate to our audience of church leaders. Now, we kind of already asked you this in the way of creatives, so we're going to go one step broader here, like church leaders in the world today. What's one thing you'd like to communicate to them?
Wow, I feel like there's so much been said, that I don't wanna be redundant, but, um, I'm a big advocate for finding purpose, um, and when you find purpose, you find peace, and I think to piggyback on what Jack was saying, I think a lot of people get lost in, doing ministry,
Hmm.
and they forget that, God Jesus just calls us to be attached to the vine,
Mm,
and that ministry is gonna take place no matter what.
Mm,
Um, so don't be paralyzed by fear or stressed out by making the ministry grow or meeting certain standards or just let God work through you and relax, God's bigger,
mm.
uh,
yeah.
than you ever imagined. So I think that would be my encouragement to leaders out there. Just stress less, let God take over, love your family well.
Love it. It's great.
Good word.
Jack, what about you?
Um, I got lost in thought there for a second while Mark was talking. That happens. Sometimes. Yeah. So, I think this podcast probably exists for this purpose. But what I would say is that, uh, you're not alone
Mm,
in what you're doing. There are always other people out there, doing the same things, having the same struggles,
yes.
and that, uh, yeah, ironically, I guess, in an age of like hyper communication,
Mhm.
right? It is easy to feel isolated at times. So, finding communities, finding mentors, I think is really important
Yes.
Mhm.
for maintaining your mental health as you're doing this work that sometimes probably feels at times thankless,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So take care of yourself.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
really what I'm trying to say.
Mm. That's
Good
very
reminder.
good. Yeah.
Guys, I know that our listeners are going to want to find out more. They're going to want to hear these songs. Where's the best place for them to catch up with you, and even on social media? Where can they follow you?
Yeah, so we're on pretty much all the platforms. Our handle is at WavMaker Music. It's WavMaker. But the best place to hear our music is on our website. So just come to wavemaker.com. You can hear everything in the catalog. You can download free previews that you can test out, in your productions. If you're happy, you can get a subscription and have unlimited access to music. So we'd love to have you.
Mm. We've got an exclusive offer too through Ministry Brands. So if you are part of the Ministry Brands family, we will put that in the show notes too. We've got a special landing page for you, and there's an exclusive offer there. So thanks for that partnership, guys.
Yes, it means the world to us. And thank you guys both for your time today and talking with us. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, thanks
Absolutely.
for having
Thanks
us.
for having us.
Yeah, it has been awesome. And for our listeners, listen, be sure to check out all of those show notes that we put out that have all the links, and we'll make sure that you are able to follow them on social and check out all the music because we know that you'll want to find out more. And hey, for all of our listeners at home, if this episode has encouraged you, if it's been a resource to you, would you consider sharing it with a friend? Share with someone in the ministry. Maybe you have someone in your church that you think would want to learn more about this and how they can get involved creatively right there in your community. And so share it with them and see what they think, because we always want to just be helping to equip leaders just like you right there in your community. And so, again, hit that follow button. We want to make sure that you're subscribed, that you're continuing to get these resources that we put out. But until next time, keep leading well, and we will see you right back here next week on Church Leadership Lab.
This episode of the Church Leadership Lab podcast is brought to you by Ministry Brands, the largest provider of church technology software. Over 90,000 churches rely on Ministry Brands for their single platform solution that brings together all the digital tools a church needs. From online giving to websites to church management software and more, Ministry Brands is leading the way in simple to use, innovative solutions, all with the goal of empowering healthy churches. To learn more, visit ministrybrands.com.